So first off was someone was just asking a series. It was pretty much the whole who, what, where, when, why, how on war. And then part B of the question now is, how do you handle it if it's a wicked nation that you're being asked to fight for? So the first off, as far as war goes, well, God commanded quite a few battles and wars in the Old Testament. So right off the bat, we know it's on the table of something that God has said to do. Why? It's sad that, he's not a great reference these days, but I remember long ago listening to Ravi Zacharias talk about this, and one thing he talks about is because of the sanctity of life. War is a necessity because of the sanctity of life. That life is precious, and when there are people out there who are attacking life, they are taking lives, they are doing things that are going to hurt the innocent, that opens the door where stopping those people becomes okay. Because you can take war and you can scale it on down to really like, what about if someone, the men in the room here, I don't know, maybe you're a naturally aggressive and angry and mean person. I'm not necessarily. I don't necessarily like, I'm not like an angry person. I don't typically have aggression issues. I like to mess around with my friends, but if someone did something to my wife or kids, my nature could change quickly. And I would feel justified. Absolutely justified to protect them. I'm not talking about even revenge. I'm just talking about to defend. Someone is attacking my daughter. What won't I do? That's the question. So now we put it onto a grander scheme. And I think this question gets prompted because of Israel. So I'm backing over to your part B, but the who, what, where, when, why of war, well, man, right? Like, Israel's been attacked with rockets, suicide bombers, the Intifada, it goes on and on and on. But when hundreds of people, they come through the border in the middle or the early morning, not the middle of the night, but the early morning, and they rape tons of women, kill people. I mean, it's horrific. If you've never really looked at the details of what was done that day, I mean, it is sickening and barbaric. And there's a point where you say, like, we can't let this happen again. Like, we've been dealing with missiles. We created the Iron Dome. We can't let this happen again. And so there are points where we realize life is on the line. Lives are being taken. It's tough. Like, when does our nation step in? When does America step into Sudan? When does America step into these other? That's a hard call, but at the same time, what happens when you have Ben Parker, right? With great power comes great responsibility. There's my Spider-Man quote of the night. But the idea is though, right? Like you have the ability to stop evil. And so how do you go about it? Well, I mean, fight fair. We have international laws. Israel's going by all the international laws in that battle. And so the who, what, where, when, why, and how, I mean, that's the main thing is God has allowed us to defend ourselves. That's that whole talk about the two swords in the Last Supper, Well, you have the two swords. Why? Well, to defend yourselves. He wasn't opposed with the apostles. He also wasn't opposed to them walking to the gallows, but at the same time, God is not against us defending ourselves in the sanctity of life, doing what it takes to protect people. Now, as far as we're supposed to obey the governing authorities, and really your part B is almost more of that kind of a question, right? The obeying of the governing. What do you do when I'm being asked to participate in a war, but this nation is wicked, this and that? And really just kind of goes back to answering when do we have to follow the government? When do we have to obey the governing authorities? And it's, well, you have to obey God and not men. And the Holy Spirit will convict. That's another part of that too. When the Holy Spirit convicts us. So I'd be dealing with that more on a unique one-on-one basis. But again, it's not hard if a nation's doing something that you feel like, no, this is absolutely ungodly and unbiblical, well, then I wouldn't feel compelled to participate in that. So I hope that kind of got the part B, is it really kind of runs over into that 1 Peter 2 and Romans 13, kind of a category of if my nation's doing a draft, and it's like one of those things, is it a just war? And a lot of Christians got out of the draft for religious reasons. So there are many people who felt that things were, not okay, and they got out of it for that reason.